And as we get started, we've got some new faces here for everybody. Fortunately, we've got names by everybody. The members of our committee that are here this evening are John Calarese, Mike Melody, Marion Matthews, and a newly appointed member of our committee is Ron Stanley. We've spoken on the phone, and he is very excited to be joining our group. I think in my email earlier, I let you know that Mike Kovarovics moved out of town and resigned from the committee. And Ron is happy to join the group and lend his expertise to to what we've got going on here. So with that said, the first item on our agenda is your screen.
You're frozen, Jim.
I shouldn't be frozen anymore. I was for a second.
Yeah. Okay, you aren't now.
You're good.
John, can you give Mark Robbins the ability to share his screen?
Sure. There we go. All right, Mark, I'm going to make you host, and then afterwards, I'm going to ask you to relinquish that title when you're done, so we can get back on track. Okay, you should have your ability now.
Okay. All right, let me see what I can pull up here. So today was a good day. I got to the school, had a chance to walk around the site and got inside, met the principal, and I got to the door and they said, "You're probably not here for the kindergarten orientation." I said, "No." But really nice building, really nicely maintained, and nice space, a lot of natural light coming in through all those skylights. So started to take some pictures, took a lot of notes, and it was kind of a good primer. Also looked at the fire station. But I put together, we were working on a little memo here, which I'll share with you, screen share, when we got the invite from James for today. But just to let you know, we applied for the maximum size renewable energy credit application, and that was awarded, and we posted the surety payment. So that would be, what that means is that we can install a rooftop solar, rooftop or ground mounted, but the least expensive place to install it, the first hit would be to install it on the roof, assuming there's structural capacity there. And with the ballasted system, we only need, on average, there are particular points that might be higher, but on average about 3 to 5 pounds per square foot of residual roof capacity to be able to hold a ballasted system. Putting that in perspective, snow, and Jim would know more, but you need about 30 pounds of residual capacity to meet snow load. So 5 pounds is just a fraction of that. But that would allow
I think Ashford is 35.
35 now, yeah, okay. So that would allow us to do a system without needing any attachments. And on the roof, so we looked at 3 years of electrical usage and determined that we can, so based on the current electrical usage of the building, we could provide all of that with a rooftop solar system and still have additional capacity on the roof for other mechanical equipment or additional solar. In other words, mounting a solar system on the roof of the school, occupying 65, 70% of the roof area, would furnish you with all of your electricity that the building needs on an annual basis with this net metering program. And the credits that we've secured is two-part. One is it's grandfathered your right to have a two-way meter installed, a net meter, and also credits that would help co-sponsor the system. So the utility places a credit meter, it's a performance-based system, and you'll earn $75, I guess $74 per kilowatt hour for any energy that's produced with the solar system. And that would go towards offsetting the cost of the system. And we could do this all with a power purchase agreement so that a third party would own and maintain the equipment. And the school would enjoy the benefit of 100% renewable energy and also enjoy cost savings, probably about 50% of what they're spending now. But I can sort of walk you through. So I'm going to do a screen share and let's see if I can pull this one up. What is this one called? All right. So let me know if you see a memo.
We do.
Okay. Great. So these are just some exhibits we pulled together. So this is just an aerial view of the building. In the winter, no trees. And what I'm interested to hear back. So we're really in a position where we can, our next phase is to work with a roofing designer. And I do have one question, which is where is the electrical service? I forgot to mark on this where the electrical service is, but that's one thing that sort of informs, if you have endless space for solar, you'd want to be able to tie in your inverters and orient your system so that it's not too far from the main electrical service. So here's the building. Let me just kind of jump through this. Okay. Building electrical. So we looked at 2018, 2019, and 2020. 2020 was a COVID year. So we felt that 2019, sort of more, 2018, 2019 were more representative of the building's electrical consumption. And doesn't look like, well, it looked like you started a LED lighting project recently, or completed an LED lighting project recently. So these usage numbers may change a little bit, but let's go with 2019 as being a typical year where the building required 352,000 kilowatt hours a year of electrical usage. That breaks down to 60% is usage and 30% of it is demand. Demand are these surcharges where you get penalized for spikes in usage. The demand charges don't represent the volume of electrons you buy, rather penalties when you use peak amounts of them. So why that's important to get a handle on. So some schools that have big air conditioning systems will see demand is equal to 50 or 56%. In this case, demand is just about a third of your total bill. But what that's interesting is Connecticut's coming out with a subsidized battery storage program that might be an interesting fit to take a look at, which means that batteries could help to reduce these demand peaks. So that when you have peaks of electrical demand, you would draw from your batteries as opposed to the grid. And the other economic benefit from a battery program would be in off-peak hours, when the school isn't likely to experience demand peaks, perhaps on the weekends. The school could discharge their battery power to the grid for a fee and be paid by Eversource based on a demand program. So that would be an adder to a solar system we can look at. This is a program that we're expecting Eversource to roll out pricing at the end of the year. And it would something we could pair when we solicit contractors for the installation of solar systems. We could look at enhancing your economics by dispatchable energy source by pairing batteries with a solar system. So those batteries would trickle charge with solar energy, which you're obtaining from a renewable source, and then you would use those batteries to reduce your peaks and also sell back when there's when it's advantageous. So we're
Mark, I have a question.
Yeah.
What components in the school would really spike the peak demands?
Yeah, so that's interesting.
I'm very familiar with the term. I've actually designed things around it my whole career, but I don't know what in the school would really spike the demand that big.
Yeah, so we'd probably want to. So we didn't really get too deep into it yet. We haven't done an energy audit of the school yet, and I'd probably request from Eversource. It's kind of perverse. You actually have to pay them extra to get your interval data. It's like going to a restaurant and if you want to see an itemized bill to see what you paid for your beverage versus your dessert, you have to pay extra for that level of detail. I think it's $100 and we request 1 year's worth of demand data. And then we would match that to a calendar or a schedule and figure out when that's occurring. So this is just monthly data. We just got I guess 36 months of bills from Christine and built this chart out, but we haven't requested the interval data, which would be in 5-minute intervals, and figure out when that's occurring. Is it the beginning of the day? Is it being triggered by circulation pumps? I'm not sure. So
what would the goal be in terms of peak demand? Getting it down to what?
Well, I guess what we would do is we'd order the interval data, this big spreadsheet that shows us on 5 or 15-minute increments what the building usage is, which is a lot more granular than a monthly bill. And then we would try to identify what could be triggering it. And then how could we either behavioral change or technology that, that would, I mean, you first want to figure out if you could mechanically reduce that with either soft start. So like fire drills often are a scenario where the building is shut down, everybody leaves the building, goes to the backyard, and they come back in, they flip all the lights on and they turn the air conditioners back on and there's a surge. And it takes a year for that demand surge to reset. So we'd want to look at it a little bit, but that's in schools, that's sometimes, the scenarios where everything's shut down and brought back on, where that you'd probably be more effective or very effective at a soft start. So just going through a sequence of bringing on the cafeteria and waiting a few minutes and then bringing on the gymnasium, sort of a soft start approach. But we'd have to look at we'd figure out. So if we mapped out the demand charges, and then you could say, yeah, that's, we talked to the fire marshal, that's when you had your 2 or 3 fire drills, then that may be the source of it. I'm just guessing right now. So this was just a real high level data. So really what we're anxious to do is get into the next stage of the project. But what I took here is these 72 module, so the commercial grade panels, which right now are a little better than 400 watts per panel. And we laid out just a concept, 480 watt panels. We laid out about 650 panels, and we got to a 315 kW system, which means that we'd be producing about 387. So the point of this little back of the envelope exercise was to show that we don't need all of the roof. And we're at this point, we're already overproducing. The layout that I'm showing you here would produce about 385,000 kilowatt hours a year. And if your LED lighting project proves out, I don't know much about that project, what the goals were from that, but you would probably have additional headroom. In this scenario alone, we're actually producing an excess amount of energy that the about 34,000 kilowatt hours a year. So if we put this many panels on your roof today, on an prior to having done your LED lighting project, you'd be oversupplying by about 34,000 kilowatt hours a year, equivalent to about maybe 4 homes worth of usage, which means that there's some headroom there for upgrades to the building. If we wanted to introduce more mini splits, for example, or address some indoor air quality by bringing in some ERVs for fresh air in the classrooms. So this is just showing you that we've got headroom to start to electrify more than your lighting. If we wanted to look at moving away from your oil-based heating systems and move to an electrified, either air source heat pumps, this is just kind of showing us that we've got headroom to add more solar, and within the context of the agreement that we've set up with Eversource, and kind of anxious to look at that.
So, we are interested in doing some of that. Having the mini splits, and also would this allow us to have charging stations?
Yes, there's another program for charging, making facilities EV ready. So there's a charge, yes. So yeah, so my guess that after the LED, if you did nothing other than the LED lighting program you just implemented, that we wouldn't need all of the solar. We could drop another roof off of this, and you would be producing all of your electrical needs with the solar system, and we wouldn't even need all of these panels. You might want to drop this section here out of the mix. However, if we did want to if we did want to reduce your oil consumption, and I started to collect information on I'm a little ahead of myself here, but I looked at the four oil boilers. If we wanted to start to move towards electrification, then we could reintroduce solar panels, and there's plenty of surface area on the roof for us to generate substantially more, solar sourced electricity to offset not just your lighting, but also to take on some of the, expand your HVAC, expand your AC, air conditioning, and fresh air systems, and also electric heating.
We would be very interested in that. And yeah, we're also thinking about trying to get some electric buses at some point too, so.
Okay.
Mark,
So
with regard to the extra capacity, and not completely remembering the metering system you had talked about, how much of that can be sold back to the grid?
Right, so the way it works is you could sell back to the grid. In fact, the scenario that we laid out here, we're selling back to the grid 34,000 kilowatt hours a year, which means
approximately dollars. What is that?
Yeah, so it's not good news. You really don't want to you want to use it all within a year. And in this scenario, you would probably, unless we add car chargers or switch from oil to electric heat or put in more mini splits, or we'd be selling back 34,000. But the thing is that anything you don't use in that netting, that two-way meter that trues up at the end of the year, they're gonna cash you out, and they're gonna pay you wholesale rates for that 34,000 kilowatt hours a year. And those wholesale rates are something like 4 cents. So you'd be going through all the trouble to implement that solar system, but in this scenario, it's oversized, and you'd be getting a check for $1,600 a year or something. It wouldn't be worth it.
Okay, thank you. So we're being punished for making electricity.
Well, they're gonna, so what in this scenario, so we're probably gonna do an RFP. My next step would be to develop a RFP and then solicit competitive proposals for the installation of a solar system, whereby there be an installer and an investor. And we're gonna pledge these credits to the investor in return for a lower cost of electricity. So let's say right now you're paying 17 cents all in per kilowatt hour to Eversource. We do this PPA. The investor will own and maintain that solar system, and they'll sell you power at 7 cents. So 7 cents is a lot cheaper than 17 cents. So it's a good deal. And the third party makes the investment in the equipment and owns and maintains it. And maybe we even have them reimburse our consulting fee. So your net out of pocket is 0. And they're your new electric company at 7 cents versus Eversource, which is 17 cents. So you're saving a lot, and it's completely renewable and clean. Keep in mind though, you will have entered into an agreement for 7 cents. So any electron that's generated there, you're paying them 7 cents for it. It's a take or pay agreement. It's like if you lease a car, and it stays in your garage, you still owe the monthly payment. So 7 cents would be a great deal. And I'm just guessing, maybe we have really competitive RFP and there's a lot of participants and we get it down to 6 cents or 5 cents. But let's just say 7 cents that's a conservative number for argument's sake. You'd be happy to sign up a 7 cent fixed for 20 or 25 year PPA fixed, which is really terrific because we're projecting electric costs going up 3 or 4% a year every year. But we would do a fixed deal. So you'd be locked in at 7 cents, let's say, for 20 or 25 years. But you are paying that for every kilowatt hour that's produced. In the scenario where we're overproducing by 34,000 kilowatt hours a year, you're paying that vendor 7 cents for those electrons, but then you're dumping them into the grid if you don't need them, unless you had a carport, electric car charge, EV chargers, or more air conditioning, or you're backing off of oil and you're using this extra electricity for heating versus oil. But if you didn't do any of those things, you're just dumping it back to the grid. Right now, Eversource is paying you 4 cents, but you'll have paid 7 cents. So you don't want to do that.
Gotcha.
So we'd like to right-size the solar system, which means that we really want to get a handle on a go-forward basis what we expect your electric usage to look like over the next 20 or 25 years. We want to right-size it. And the way these Eversource programs, I think when we first met, I mentioned, is there incentives like LED lighting. There's a big incentive for doing LED lighting, and then that was enhanced during COVID because they had difficulty completing projects. There was actually a COVID bonus. And the way they work with these programs is that the more you add to your mix, if you do LED lighting plus ERVs or LED lighting plus control systems, they increase the percentage of the incentive as you add more measures. So let's say your basket was just LED lighting, I'm oversimplifying, and they're offering it.
Mark,
yeah.
Can I stop you for a second? I put 1,000 LED lights in there, so the whole school is LED right now. This summer, I was able to get a whole pallet. So as far as LED lighting goes, inside, outside the building, throughout is all LED.
Now, did you remove the drive? Did you jump the drivers, or you still?
No, I did the bulbs, and as the ballasts went, I had LED ballasts, and I replaced those as well. So right now, we've already changed over to LED, so that's got to save something. In the near.
Did you do a lighting audit, or did you have a?
No. I bought a pallet of 1,000 lights through my electrician. I got them as cheap as possible, and I replaced them all myself. I've been doing this for 5 years now, so I finally got the whole building LED.
Yeah, so that should reduce your electrical consumption in the building. So typically we would do that in a program. So we would have a before and we would do a lighting audit, figure out all the fixtures, and then there's an incentive there to help pay for the bulbs, and then you can do the on-bill financing, so you don't come out of pocket for the equipment or the parts.
Can we do so? Does it include things like you said the chargers maybe and also
there's a program? Yep, there is a
mini
program.
splits.
Chargers. Yep.
I think we're very interested in adding air conditioning. So doing the mini splits and also electrical heating, possibly. So, with global warming, we definitely want air conditioning now.
Yeah, so I guess the next step would be, we had looked at as a second phase to evaluate the electrical mechanical components of the building and put a package of potential upgrades together. I think we're talking about insulation, controls, lighting, oil, converting from oil to electric, ERVs, things like that, and then putting that package together and securing an incentive agreement, and then an implementation plan. So I'm not sure where you folks are on that, or if you're still considering any upgrades to the building.
We are. I think we talked about it quite a bit, and we're all in favor of doing as much as we can. So we even talked about geothermal, possibly because our oil tank has to come out this year. Is that correct, Mike?
2023. 4 years with that. I just had it put under pressure. We're good for another year or two. 2023, we have to remove that oil tank, 20,000 gallon.
So what would we have to do to put together a proposal for all that stuff?
Okay, I think we had a sort of a draft proposal, which, sort of a first step walkthrough, which we can send you. I guess we had wanted it, we sort of separated, we had originally talked about sort of an aspiration of net zero building plan, and that there was a lot of physical maintenance, mechanical stuff that you'd be looking at, so that we could bundle them into a package for to exploit the maximum utility incentive, and then figure out appropriate financing structures and what would be the payback. So
I think that's a meeting unto itself. Really what we were looking for today from Mark was to really just give us an overview of where we're at with the solar. So I think, I think maybe that could be part of our next meeting, would be to go over the next steps with Mark in that planning process. Does that seem reasonable?
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's me.
Let me know. It takes so as you can imagine, if you had $100,000 worth of upgrades, and to get to the point where Eversource actually gives you a document, a letter of agreement that says they're going to fund or give you an incentive for $30,000 or $40,000 of that. These are hypothetical numbers. It takes probably about 6 months of sort of back and forth with them, where you make your proposal and they come out to a site visit, and then you show them what you're going to install, and they have to corroborate all the credentials. So before you get that letter of intent from them, that whole process takes, I would guess, about 6 months. So then you know what your funding would be, and then you know how much you have to go to the Board of Selectmen, or how much you have to bond for. So I recommend starting the process of scoping it out and securing the letter of agreement. so that you know what your net cost is that you have to budget for. But with the solar, we're ready to you have a standby agreement in place right now. So the sooner we can release this and install the solar, the quicker you can start saving, go green and start saving money with your solar system. Obviously, you need the roof work to be done.
So is there any more questions for Mark regarding where we're at with the solar at this point? All right, so I think, Mark, if you could stop sharing your screen. And the next item on our agenda is Mike Serrano from Fryer and Associates. If we could go over Mike's proposal so that we can get any questions answered that we might have. Mike, are you able to bring that proposal up on your screen?
Actually, so Mark, if you would, what you could do is actually, if you turn on the list of participants, you could select Michael Serrano. And on the, if you hover over his name, there's a little box that says more. You can make him the host.
My computer is running out of steam, so I'm going to go get my plug. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Good, Michael, you should be the
There
host.
you go. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, can everybody see that?
We can.
Okay, so this is the proposal that I wrote a while back for Jim. What he asked me to do is put together a proposal to assist the municipality in getting the grant from the State Department of Education to undertake the roof project. A roof project is different from a new school project because it's not a priority project, and that's just means that that's not one of those projects that goes to the State Bonding Commission in December, and they bond those as a package for big school construction. This is money that's the state pays for roof projects, for building code projects, boiler replacements, things that are not new school construction or alterations, additions, things like that. It's just a roof replacement project. And there's a criteria, a bunch of things so it's the Board of Education, the Superintendent's Office that actually applies for the grant itself. And there's a whole series of things that they need both from the board, Superintendent's Office, and from the town and the municipality in order to apply for the grant. So I try to make this not just a proposal, but kind of a treasure map, so that I wrote it up as this is the project understanding. You desire to replace the roof at the school with the financial assistance of the state of Connecticut. We've done a lot of these over time. There's different kinds of companies that kind of assist with this, but back in the day, the architecture firms that really did this. So what we would do is assist you in preparing the documents you need to make the grant application. So it's not just a matter of filling out a form and sending it in. First of all, you need an educational specification. These are things that are mandated by the general statutes at the state level. So the first thing is the educational specification. It's a relatively simple document that just says that this project, the roof project, is part of the overall maintenance and educational plan of the town. It's a fairly boilerplate piece, something that'll help you prepare, and then you bring it to the Board of Education. They vote on it, and it's good to go. You can attach that to your application. Next one is local legislative resolutions, which basically means that you've there's a whole. If you go to this document that I created for you guys, you can click on these blue highlighted sections. You click right on that, and it'll tell you what they are. And the legislative resolutions are basically that you formed a building committee for the project, that you're authorized to there's 3 resolutions. in there. So you can click on that. I'll help you put that together. And then the proof of local authorized funding. So depending on what the structure of the municipality is, if you got to go to referendum to set the money aside, if you can just put it in the annual budget, however the mechanisms for your municipality works, there has to be proof that the funding is in place for the project. With those three things, I help you put the grant application in. I have to do a series of sketches that shows, it's really diagrammatic of your roof that shows what year all the roofs are, because they only start reimbursing roofs after X amount of years. So I got to show roof is 20 years old. This one's 25 years old, just so that your grant is fully eligible. Then I have to do a cost estimate, which is a kind of a basically a historical look at the square footage, the type of roof you want to put on, this and that. Because the square footage is kind of pretty standardized, but I think we've got some hazmat that we got to deal with, that we got to let them know about. We got the demo piece because of the Connecticut energy code that came into the code a few years ago. We're going to have to add more insulation, thicker insulation into that roof. And then we'll want to talk about what kind of roof you want to put on there, from lowest value to highest value, and how old you want that to be. And we're probably going to want to put an Energy Star roof on there, which is going to be a much lighter colored roof. It's going to reflect a lot. So if you do put air conditioning in your building, it's going to be a gigantic savings for you guys over time. The building itself will just stay way cooler with that. And then I'll with the superintendent's office and help you fill the grant application online. And then that all goes in, and they'll just inform you when you can begin when that your grant is in place, that they've looked at it, you're qualified for the grant. This is essentially what your reimbursement is going to be. Then you can go ahead and hire an architect to do the design. That's reimbursable, and then they'll make payments over the course of the construction. You do every other month you put in, and they'll reimburse you through to the end of the project. There's some of the things I've excluded from this contract is I'm not going in and doing measured plans, elevations, CAD, Revit plans, anything like that. This is just going to be diagrammatic. I'm just helping you get the grant with this. It's not, we certainly as a firm do a lot of roof projects that have this stuff included. I just want to make it perfectly clear that we're not doing the construction documents for you right now. We're just helping you apply for the grant. We're not surveying it. We're not doing any of the environmental work. That's something we'll be doing. I can help you procure that service, but it's not something that we do. And then we're not doing any of the hazardous materials testing and reports. I've basically talked to myself, one of our associates, and a great guy, a building official on our staff, is going to be the guys involved in helping you put this grant together. And then I do recommend that either the superintendent's office or the selectman's office give Robert Facito a call. You can see his information right here, just to let him know that you guys are underway preparing to do a roof project that's going to be granted by them. If they've made it, and the reason I suggest is, one, they like to know, they like to help the process along. If anything has changed from the last time I did one of these to now, there's a new procedure or something like that, they'll let you know. They may want to come out and take a look at it because they're the ones, funding, 50, 60% of the project. So, so that's another little piece just to do. So I'll help you get through the grant application and all the documents required for it. And then somebody in the town just gives them a call and just let them know it's on the way. And then knowing that you're putting a PV array on the top of it, there's some stuff I'm not involved in the design of it right now, but there's probably some stuff I'll want to talk to Mark about as far as other systems that are going on the roof, the weights of his system. If you guys are truly going to come in with split units or something like that on the roof, that's all stuff I should know, because those units all have curbs and stuff like that, which would potentially affect the cost a little bit. So there's a lot to go, but this just helps get me in place so that I can start giving you good advice. So that's what we got.
I have a question.
Of course.
Is basically the whole roof eligible for new roof grant?
I believe that the youngest roof now has met the 20-year requirement. So I believe so. I'll have to go back and take a look at it. I think that was exactly why we waited this long.
Yeah.
Mike Melody can probably answer that question, but I believe you're correct.
Yeah. My Firestone roofs, 30 years, ran out 20 years ago. And the older part of the building was built in 51, and I think it's the original roof on it. So I think we will get a whole new roof. I'm hoping.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think that's true.
Any other questions for Mr. Serrano?
If we're going to add potentially mini splits down the road because of the potential for having a surplus of electricity, does that have to be figured in terms of where they go now before the roof would be installed?
It's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got, also just walking through the building, you've got a fair amount of skylights there. So you might want to kind of think about how those are age of skylights. Are they insulated? Do we want to look at window tint on them, or they're just sort of trying to control some of the heat gain there? But
well, they're actually not reimbursable, so we may want to eliminate those or talk. We'll want to talk about those.
Yeah, as an energy guy, when I see the skylights, I could just see all the heat coming. All the heat in the winter going right up there, and all the heat gain in the winter. So I find myself fighting skylights. So there's certainly better way to manage that envelope. But now is really the super important time to talk about mechanical planning for the building and locating mechanicals on the roof, not just from a weight, capacity, curbing, and envelope perspective, but all that mechanical equipment needs to be serviced. So we need walking paths to get to it, service areas. And they create shadows. And so we'd hate to be in a position where we're, after the fact, trying to remove or eliminate solar panels and put up mechanical equipment that's going to shadow and negatively affect our solar system. So it's really a great chance now to think holistically and plan for it.
Yeah, the bigger units will also cast a snowdrift load onto the structural system. So I'll be aware of all of those things as we kind of go through this, but there's a lot of little ins and outs. I think the energy profile that they've put together might change considerably as well, just because of the lighter roof and then the shading coefficient of these solar panels going up on the roof. So we're going to definitely have to look at that a little bit closer as well. We have a solar array on a hockey arena up in Union Arena in Vermont. And then, just the shading coefficient has decreased their cooling load by about 30%. So it's a substantial number. So
we were getting about, we were getting. I look forward to working with Michael on this. We were getting up to 40 cents per square foot at one point incentives for the white roof, the albedo, based on the reflectivity of the white roof. So the way that works is, as I mentioned earlier, there's this calculus, and the more qualified measures they put into it, they raise the percentage of the overall incentive in the basket. So again, like back to that analogy, if you had lighting, which was a big one, big incentives for that, you add lighting plus the white roof, it's now two measures, and you go from a 20 to a 30 or 20 to a 40% incentive being applied to the total project.
And then I think the last thing is we just want to be absolutely sure that we're going to be going with a ballasted system, because that's a cost driver on this roof as well, which is right, Mark? I mean, it's the ballasted versus the, putting down the stirrups to hold the system in place.
Yeah. Yep. So you would need I'm sure you'll have, Jim, a structural engineer in the mix, or maybe you have that, Michael, at your
Yeah. We'll be able to do the 30,000 foot cost estimate on that. If the town commits to the ballasted system, I'll just confirm that, we can handle the additional pounds a square foot with the ballast system and the additional insulation we're putting on the roof. And then we'll deal with the skylights however we're instructed. Just a couple little cost drivers just to be aware of. In the end, we're going to square foot this thing, but there's little things that do have a pretty heavy effect on the overall cost. Want to make sure that the grant is for the right amount of money, because they only let you ask once. So, and as far, so once we put this in, the state decides that they're going to give you the money. Then you're going to engage an architecture design firm to put the design together. Then you're going to go out to bid. Right now, the lead time on the roof insulation is about 6 months. So we'll be really, really lucky to get this ready for next summer. I don't know what we're thinking, but just because of the lead times on the roof materials, and this is all COVID driven, we're running into this across the board out here in the design field. So just play that 6 months backwards, and you know where we are.
But I think our goal is to, get this proposal approved by the Board of Selectmen at their meeting next week, and then try to move forward pretty aggressively, and try to get this done as quickly as we can. Our goal really is, if at all possible, to do the roof and solar project in the next summer window. So I guess all we can do is move as rapidly as we can. Yep. and hope that we can get things done and get materials committed in a timely fashion.
Yep.
So with that said, does anybody have any questions of Mike Serrano regarding this proposal? If not, I think we'd be in a position to act as a committee to make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. All right, Mike, can you stop screen sharing so that I can see everybody again?
Got it. Good.
And if I could, Michael, ask you to return me as the host if you on the list of participants. If you click on my name.
That's John.
There you go. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Perfect. All right. So does anybody feel like they're ready to make a motion to recommend the acceptance of Fryer and Associates proposal to the Board of Selectmen?
I so move.
Let me make a note of that.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? All in favor? I'm going to do a roll call so that I can make sure I get everybody. John Calarese.
Aye, yes.
Ron Stanley.
Yes.
Mike Melody.
Yes.
Marion Matthews.
Yes.
And the chairman votes yes. All right, so the other thing I had on the agenda tonight is I thought the superintendent was going to be able to join us. Apparently something's come up. I didn't know if he or Mr. Melody had anything that they wanted to put on the table for the committee to think about discussing at the next meeting. Mike, did you have anything?
No, I texted him the meeting number, and he must be busy or something. I talked to him today, and he was definitely going to be on this meeting. But
yeah, I imagine something came up that he didn't anticipate.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'm sorry.
So we'll make this recommendation to the Board of Selectmen to go ahead and move forward and execute this agreement. And then we'll look forward to next steps. Once we've engaged Fryer and Associates, we'll meet again with more notice. So hopefully we can get the entire committee. We did pretty well on short notice today. So thanks again for everybody who was able to join us on short notice. And we'll look forward to working more closely in collaboration with both Mark Robbins and Mike Serrano and their respective firms. Is there anything else before we adjourn the meeting?
Mark and
If
Mike,
not,
thank you very much for your input.
Yeah, no,
thank you.
I appreciate everybody's time today, and we're really looking forward. You know, these are huge things for the Ashford School. Both of these projects will make a tremendous difference for us. So we're really looking forward to this and to the next steps. You know, planning. You know, Mike Serrano, you came, you know, several years ago back when I was on the board and did a facility survey for us, and it's been the basis of a lot of good decisions that the board has made, you know, both with, you know, decision-making things that they can actually implement at that moment in time, and also, you know, planning for the future. So we're looking forward to that. And I know that we're looking forward to working with Mark Robbins and his firm with some planning for the future and how this evolves. And really, you know, this is going to be a long-range project for all of those that stay committed to it. So it's going to be interesting to see. So
Board of
thank you,
Education
everybody, for your
really
time.
appreciates it too. Thank you so much, both of you.
You bet. So with that said, I
Motion to
would love to
adjourn.
see a motion for adjourn.
Second.
Thank you all. Good night.